Two sides of the same coin. Uchiha Obito's complex personality explored. What makes Uchiha Obito one of the most intriguing and multifaceted characters in anime history? Could he potentially be diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, DID? And how does psychology explain the layers of personalities he seems to exhibit? Hi, I'm Oliver, and I have a background in psychology. My goal here is to bridge the worlds of manga, anime, and psychological science. Today, we'll dive deep into one of the anime characters with the most social masks ever seen, Uchiha Obito. To truly understand a person, we need to look at their entire story, their life history, their environment, and the key events that shaped them. Let's begin by examining who Obito was as a child. He was a kind-hearted boy who loved to help others, especially the elderly. He knew the names of every senior citizen in Konoha, demonstrating his compassion and thoughtfulness. However, Obito faced a deep emotional void early on. He lost his parents at a very young age and was raised by his grandmother. If you want to know more about the effects of growing up without parents, I discuss this in depth in my Kakashi video. This absence of parental figures significantly impacted Obito's self-esteem. He grew up feeling unacknowledged, striving to prove his worth to those around him. His ambition to become Hokage, a dream similar to Naruto's, was driven by his desire for validation and recognition. Here's where an important psychological concept comes into play: the Pygmalion effect. This theory, explored by renowned psychologists Robert Rosenthal and Lenore Jacobson, highlights how expectations influence outcomes. They discovered that when teachers hold high expectations for their students, they inspire better performance. Conversely, negative expectations can hinder growth and lead to poorer results. In Obito's case, the absence of his parents deprived him of this foundational positive reinforcement. This lack of support compounded his feelings of inadequacy, especially as he experienced unrequited love for Rin, which further eroded his self-esteem. When Obito joined Minato's team alongside Kakashi and Rin, the rivalry with Kakashi pushed him to work harder. While Obito was often late, he claimed it was because he was helping the elderly, and this was indeed true. This rivalry created a healthy competition that drove him to improve. If we analyze this early personality of Obito, it's clear he had the potential to become an emotionally well-rounded individual, perhaps even more so than Naruto. He shared many of Naruto's ideals, but he possessed a sensitivity and empathy that were uniquely his own. Had it not been for the series of traumatic events that unfolded, Obito might have achieved his dream of becoming Hokage, potentially an even greater one than Naruto. But everything changed when tragedy struck. In a harrowing episode, Obito nearly died and ultimately sacrificed his eye to save Kakashi. This moment marked a turning point where he began to lose his sense of self. Enter Uchiha Madara, who found Obito in this vulnerable state and exploited his youth and emotional fragility. Madara's influence marked the beginning of a manipulative cycle, offering Obito a new purpose, but at a great cost. This manipulation deeply affected Obito's psyche, leading him down a dark path and creating the complex, multi-layered character we know today. Obito's journey is a poignant reminder of how our environment, relationships, and pivotal moments shape us, often in ways we cannot foresee. As we continue to explore his story, we uncover not just a tragic figure, but also a reflection of the human capacity for resilience, manipulation, and the struggle for identity in the face of overwhelming adversity. It is important to remember that manipulation can be categorized as either negative or positive. Positive manipulation, or persuasion, refers to actions aimed at helping someone improve, achieve positive results, or overcome fears. This type of manipulation has a benevolent purpose, to genuinely support the other person. However, this was clearly not the case with Madara. His actions were driven solely by his self-serving objectives. In reality, his manipulation was entirely for his own benefit. Madara effectively manipulated Obito, employing a range of techniques that demonstrate his mastery of control. One of his primary tools was the use of authority. By asserting his identity as a Uchiha and leveraging his reputation as a feared and legendary ninja, Madara established dominance over Obito. The use of authority. Madara, known as the Great and Fearsome Ninja, respected and dreaded by many, used his authority to influence Obito. A key strategy was isolation, which is a hallmark of manipulative behavior. Madara ensured that Obito was completely cut off from other perspectives. He isolated him to the extent that Obito had no alternative options, opinions, or viewpoints. This deliberate isolation placed Obito in a state of vulnerability, where he was far more susceptible to manipulation. Obito longed to return to the Hidden Leaf Village, but Madara discouraged him, saying, "You cannot go back. Just look at the state of your body." This tactic of playing on Obito's insecurities was a calculated move. Furthermore, Madara exploited Obito's emotional state to tighten his control. Emotional exploitation and the refractory effect. Manipulation often takes advantage of intense emotional states, whether they are positive or negative. This aligns with the concept of the refractory effect, which occurs when people become more susceptible to influence during moments of heightened emotion, be it euphoria, sadness, or even anger. This is why it's crucial not to make significant decisions while feeling overly happy, angry, or sad. Such states cloud judgment and lead to impulsive choices that one might later regret. For example, it's the same reason why it's advised not to go shopping while hungry. You're more likely to overspend. Similarly, in Obito's case, his deep emotional pain and desire for purpose made him an easy target for Madara's schemes. The Pygmalion effect and expectations. Another critical aspect of Madara's manipulation was his use of the Pygmalion effect. He placed significant expectations on Obito, framing him as an indispensable figure in his grand plan. This created a psychological burden for Obito, pushing him to reshape his identity and personality to meet those expectations. Over time, this led to a profound transformation in Obito's character, turning him into a manipulator himself. The ripple effect of manipulation. As the anime progresses, we see Obito adopt many of the manipulative tactics he learned from Madara. He targeted individuals in vulnerable situations, such as Sasuke, and manipulated the members of the Akatsuki. Obito made each Akatsuki member believe that their ultimate personal goals could be fulfilled through the organization. This is a classic example of manipulation on a grand scale, convincing people that their dreams align with the manipulator's larger agenda. Final analysis. Madara's influence on Obito serves as a powerful example of how manipulation can reshape a person's entire personality and life trajectory. By leveraging authority, exploiting emotions, and setting high expectations, Madara turned Obito into a reflection of himself, someone capable of using manipulation to achieve his own ends. This dynamic not only highlights the psychological depth of their relationship, but also serves as a reminder of the far-reaching consequences of manipulation, especially when introduced during moments of emotional vulnerability. Let's take the example of The Boys. For those who've watched it, the character Homelander frequently uses a particular manipulative strategy. Whenever he's about to save someone or address a crowd of soldiers, he declares, "No, you're the real heroes." This statement is a classic example of manipulation. By doing this, he shifts the spotlight onto others, making them feel valued and important. However, in reality, he is the one in control. The soldiers and everyone else might believe they have agency, but the truth is that Homelander holds all the power, and he alone knows it. The illusion of control. This type of manipulation is highly effective because it makes people believe they're in charge, fostering a sense of empowerment while subtly ensuring they remain under the manipulator's influence. Now, shifting gears, let's look at the Akatsuki in Naruto. The organization is composed of criminals who have committed some of the most heinous acts imaginable. And yet, Obito manages to manipulate every single one of them. Now think about it. This is the same Obito who once helped the elderly, was known for his kindness, and cried over minor things. How did this compassionate, emotional individual transform into someone so cold and manipulative? Is it even the same person? This brings us to a fascinating psychological concept: multiple personalities. Multiple personalities and dissociative identity disorder. You've likely heard of the term dissociative identity disorder, DID, previously known as multiple personality disorder. This is a severe mental condition in which a person has two or more distinct personalities. These personalities can have completely different traits. One might be kind, gentle, and loving, while another could be sadistic or even violent. DD often stems from severe emotional trauma during childhood, such as abuse or neglect. It's a complex condition that requires professional help and is frequently misunderstood. Many confuse DID with bipolar disorder, but they are entirely different. Bipolar disorder involves drastic mood swings, shifts between extreme euphoria and deep depression, whereas DID involves the presence of distinct alternate identities. The many faces of Obito. With Obito, we see a range of personas. First, there's the kind-hearted Obito, who deeply cared for others. Then there's the cold, calculating manipulator who controls the Akatsuki and shapes events to his will. Lastly, we have Tobi, a completely different side of Obito, playful, goofy, charismatic, and seemingly weak. Social masks versus true identity. Tobi represents what we might call a social mask, a concept that applies to everyone. Social masks are the roles we assume in different environments. At school, you might act one way, at work, another. Your tone of voice, behavior, and even clothing change depending on the situation. This is normal. Everyone uses these masks to navigate various social settings. For Obito, Tobi serves as a crafted persona, a deliberate performance designed to mislead others. But this doesn't mean Obito has dissociative identity disorder. Let's explore why. Does Obito have DID? The answer is no. Obito does not exhibit the key traits of dissociative identity disorder. For one, his memory remains intact across all his personas. In DID, memory gaps are a common symptom, as one identity might not be aware of the actions or experiences of another. Obito, on the other hand, is fully conscious of his actions as both Tobi and his manipulative self. What Obito demonstrates is not DID, but rather a deliberate, strategic use of personas. Each version of himself, be it the kind-hearted Obito, the ruthless manipulator, or the silly and deceptive Tobi, is part of his broader plan to achieve his goals. Final thoughts. Obito's transformation from a kind and emotional individual into a cold, manipulative figure is a testament to the power of trauma and influence. Madara's manipulation played a significant role in reshaping Obito's identity, but it's important to distinguish between true mental health disorders like DID and strategic changes in behavior. Obito's personas are tools he uses to adapt to different situations, not manifestations of a psychiatric condition. His story serves as a compelling exploration of how emotional trauma, isolation, and external influence can dramatically alter someone's path. It's a reminder of the complexities of human psychology and the blurred lines between manipulation, strategy, and identity.